Good evening, everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Wanted to get on and, of course, talk to everybody tonight about truth again. I always like talking about truths, as opposed to presumptions. Presumptions that need to be clarified because there are certain statements made in, on, and for public record in public domain that should force us to question by reason what it really means. How do we associate with that? Everybody's all up in arms about their rights all the time, and a lot of the times the First Amendment's the first one that comes up because we have the right of association, freedom of association, saying that we have the right to associate or the right not to associate. Where does that association begin? When they assert their association upon you, where does that association begin? It begins the first day. First day of what? The first day of the spell of illness. Well, what do you mean? I'm not ill. Well, according to them, you are. All you moms and dads out there that have kids and go to the hospital for inpatient treatment for the birth of your heiresses, I'm going to show you something that's going to astound you. I hope it astounds the shit out of you so that you pass this along. Because when I say spell of illness, I mean spell of illness. As you can see here, we're in Title 42, Public Health and Welfare, Chapter 7, Social Security, Subchapter 18, Health and Health Insurance for aged and disabled. Notice that says aged and not old aged or retired aged or any. It simply says aged. What is aged? Well, this is a presumption that resides in, on, and for the record that when you go to the hospital as a full-grown adult woman having the birth of a child and sign an inpatient contract, you are presumed to be aged enough to have a child. When you do so, under this code we see 42 U.S. Code 1395X, definitions. For purposes of this subchapter, spell of illness. The term spell of illness with respect to any individual means a period of consecutive days beginning with the first day not included in a previous spell of illness. Mom presumably came into the hospital healthy and was going to have a healthy baby boy or baby girl. However, the presumption resides upon on which such individual is furnished inpatient hospital services, inpatient critical access hospital services, or extended care services, which occurs in a month for which he is entitled to benefits under Part A. The individual they're speaking about here is beginning with the first day, the newborn's first day, on which that individual is furnished inpatient hospital services because she or he, baby boy or baby girl, receive those hospital inpatient services under another quasi-inpatient hospital service of mom. And then mom is subjected to signing documents proving this individual is in a spell of illness. Ending with the close of the first period of 60 consecutive days thereafter, on each of which he is neither an inpatient of hospital or critical access hospital, nor an inpatient of a facility described in. From that very first day and until that contract is ended by the individual. It's not going to be ended by the mom. The mom's got a public health and welfare, Social Security, health insurance for aged and disabled, and the child is disabled and has to be abled by mom. And mom is the one that's able for the inpatient contract services, and it doesn't end until mom disables it. The child can't disable it. The child can't end it because mom is still first period of 60 consecutive days thereafter, on each of which he is neither an inpatient of a hospital or critical access hospital, nor an inpatient of a facility described in 1395A or 1395I, subsection 3A1 of this title, and subsection Y. When it talks about inpatient hospital services and stuff, it says the term inpatient hospital services means the following items, and every last one of the items is a commercial item. It's a commercial item instituted under 48 CFR 52.212-5, where it says contract terms and conditions required to implement statutes or executive orders - commercial item. It is a commercial item, and it is under contract terms and conditions under Title 48, which is the Federal Acquisitions Act. Federal Acquisitions Regulations. Inpatient hospital services are federal acquisitions. Then it goes on to explain bed and board, all this other stuff. We're going to go down here. We're going to look at physician. They all hold a Hippocratical oath as a physician, but watch what happens. The term physician, when used in connection with the performance of any function or action. Performance is an obligation of commerce of any function. A commercial action is the functions of a public office. We determined this in trade or business definition under Title 26, the Taxing Code. The function of a public office. They are in fact in contract. A taxable interaction means a doctor of medicine. Means they went to an academic college and got a doctorate degree of medicine. We see this in lawyers who have a doctorate degree of law. Anybody that goes to school and gets a doctorate, they are in fact a doctor of a science. This particular doctor, as a physician, is a doctor of the medical sciences. We have doctors of literary sciences, doctors of biological sciences, environmental sciences, all kinds of sciences. They're all doctors. The only one that can be a physician is a doctor of medicine. A physician can be a doctor of medicine, a doctor of law, a doctor of literary sciences. A physician can be many doctors. But here the term physician, when used in connection with the performance of any function or action, means a doctor of medicine or osteopathy, legally authorized to practice medicine and surgery by the state, in which he performs such function or action. So the state is the one that is giving the function, and therefore they are in fact performing the functions of a public office. They are performing trade or business. And this is a long section. As you can see, it goes on and on and on and on and on and on, just like the tax code. So you guys are up to do your own research. This is just the beginning. But before we go any further, 42 U.S. Code 1301 definitions, again under the Public Health and Welfare, Social Security, Subchapter 11. This is Chapter 7, Subchapter 11. General provisions, peer review, and administrative simplification. When used in this chapter, the term state, except where otherwise provided, includes the District of Columbia and the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and when used in subchapters 4, 5, 7, 11, 19, or 21. This is 18. So the definitions here that they're using and refer to let me find it. There it is. Physician here says the term physician, when used in connection with performance of any other function, section 17 or section 1301. So they are referring to a title that doesn't include them when used in this chapter. How is that? As in effect, without regard to the amendment made by Section 301 of the Social Security Amendments of 1972, shall continue to apply. Wait a minute. If they don't apply to anything but these chapters, then how are they applying the term physician here? 7. The term physician and medical care and hospitalization include osteopathic practitioners. Practice. What is practitioner and practice, people? Sorry about that. What is practice and practitioners? By reason of sound minds, I'm hoping everybody that watches and sees this video, by reason of your own sound mind, you can correlate that practice is in fact synonymous, wait for it, experiments. Uh-oh. What's the importance of that, people? We're talking about the Nuremberg Code. The first 10 points of the Nuremberg Code says, the voluntary consent of the subject is absolutely essential. As long as you're under that Social Security application and the benefits thereof, you are consenting. This is why we have to get rid of the implication of the presumption of the Social Security agreement being detrimental. We have to learn how to use the Social Security agreement for its commercial purposes and not its medical purposes. You can still use the Social Security account, but you have to use it according to its commercial purposes. The commercial purposes stated in the preamble of the Social Security Act itself states that it is for the purposes of raising revenue, revenues. You have to clarify it is not to revenue anything. You remain in your original jurisdiction, competent to contract, and you know the contract before it. You are not subjecting yourself to medical practitioners unless you voluntarily do so at any particular given time. That is an extension of the actual commercial contract in play. It is a further agreement that can be enacted and rescinded at any time. The presumption must be rebutted. It must be broken. Again, you do not have to give it up. You have to break the presumption that their medical practice is actually part of the contract unless you are voluntary and it is absolute. Any objection means it is no longer absolute, means there's a question before the court or before the contract. It means we need to go into arbitration. Doesn't mean we file suit. It means we go into arbitration. We need to give them a notice of liability. I have a right to enforce the contract, and in doing so, I have the right also to withdraw my voluntary consent to your medical practicing. I am no longer ill. The spell of illness is over. It's so important to realize, people as mom and dads, when you go to this hospital, what you're actually doing. You're making a contract, and that contract is amenable at any time. No contract can be enforced absolute without the voluntary consent, and that voluntary consent can be withdrawn at any time because we've changed our mind. Things have come to the surface that have changed our beliefs, and we no longer believe we need you to practice your medicine on us. We need the truth. Is your practice providing the truth? No. How do we prove this? Well, clear distinction is their synthetic use, or their use of synthetic chemicals that are mirror images of what is naturally available and up to our discretion as well. See, in these contracts, it's the discretion of two different parties. And if that discretion comes to a point where they're not the same, then we need to, in order for that contract to work together, we need to come together with the terms and agreements. I'm no longer under a spell of illness. I know how to spell correctly. I know the spelling that you're using. It says right here, and it's clear, as I pointed out. People, pay attention. Subchapter 18. See that right there? In subchapter 18. Term, physician services, and it says physicians are under 1301. Including a physician with the meaning of section 1301. In 1301, the terms physician and medical care and hospitalization include as defined by state law. Sorry, you're trying to include state law into chapter 7, subsection 18, when this here specifically says, when used in this chapter, the term state, except where otherwise provided, includes the District of Columbia and Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, and when used in subchapters, and then it names the chapters it includes. So they're using physician in two different ways. And one is the performance of the function, and the other is the practice. Telling us the function is to practice. Performance of the functions of the state. And it tells us there the state is practicing too. What are they practicing? They're practicing contracts. They have a doctorate in contract science. Does that sound ridiculous? It does. A lot of people think I'm a lunatic. And that's fine. You can call me a lunatic all you want. But remember, that might be because you're still under a spell of illness and I'm not. So anyway, I just wanted to get on and point this out real quick. Again, these are two sections. This one here is the first one, section, it is 42 U.S. Code 1395X. 1395X. I'll post these both in the comment section. And then the other one is 42 U.S. Code 1301. And these aren't the only sections. Again, this is just more stuff for you guys to research, and I'm not going to sit here and read the whole sections. It's for your use as knowledge and information for you to use for your own discretion. So you can ascertain what it means. So you can ascertain whether you're under that spell of illness still. I quit signing documents. I told them in my last court case, I rescind this, I rescind that. I recognize that I'm not a United States citizen. I don't have a need for expatriation because I'm not a United States citizen to begin with, blah, blah, blah. I clarified a lot of things. And since then, I walked out of jail. They tried to tell me I had to sign release documents, a commercial term, wanting me to lease my services again back to their practices. I'm not under their experimental practices in any form, whether it be policing practices, public political practices, religious practices, medical practices. I don't care if it's educational practices. I have the ability to learn on my own. I don't need anybody else. I can observe things myself. I've learned all of this without somebody standing over behind my shoulder checking my paperwork, and without somebody standing in front of me with a chalkboard trying to point me in a direction. I'm no longer under their spells of illness. I am well. I am a well of life. So think about it again, people. And remember, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. So again, I'll post my forum links along with my PayPal link. Please share some love. I always need it. I always use it. It goes so quick, you all know. But in the meantime, remember, the important thing is to share, share, share. Not just with me through the PayPal link, but share those forum links, share the contents in there, share the videos in there. Do your own research. Quit believing the government. Quit believing me. Quit believing your neighbor. Quit believing the state. Quit believing the medical doctors. Quit believing the police. And certainly don't believe your mom. Don't believe your dad. Quit believing. Educate yourself so you know. In the meantime, once again, if it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be doing this. God bless. Love you. Have a great night, guys. Gals.